Welcome to the Deep Dive. We cut through the noise, get straight to the insights. Today, we're plunging into something. Well, something, creating a real buzz. Digital currencies, global finance, and it's coming straight from India's financial landscape. Our mission, to really unpack a fascinating, very timely development. It's about the expansion of India's digital rupee wholesale FX pilot.
That's right.
We'll explore what it means, for the bigger picture financially, and maybe surprisingly, look at some very specific investment ideas described in one of our sources.
Yeah, the core of this discussion, it comes from excerpts of a document. It's titled India's Digital Rupee FX Pilot Investment Strategy. And what makes it really intriguing is that this document seems to include details from what's reportedly a leaked RBI circular.
A leaked circular, okay.
Yeah, so it gives this kind of unique glimpse behind the curtain to the evolving frontier.
Okay, let's unpack this then. So our sources point to this leaked RBI circular, dated July 34, 2025, reportedly, with an effective date of August 15th, 2025. I mean, that feels incredibly soon. Significant.
It does, yeah. Very imminent.
So what's the big takeaway? What does this document actually do?
Well, what's fascinating is how it fundamentally expands India's wholesale CBDC pilot, the central bank digital currency. Specifically, it brings in USDINR legs for interbank settlements.
Okay, USDINR.
Yeah, and this isn't just like a minor technical change. It means banks must now hold e-rupee reserves to handle these new transactions.
Right, they have to hold the digital rupees.
Exactly, and that immediately creates this very specific, urgent demand for specialized fintech rails.
Fintech rails, like the plumbing.
Pretty much. Think of it as the digital infrastructure needed to move and manage these new e-rupee reserves efficiently.
So if banks are suddenly told you have to hold these reserves and they need this special plumbing, what does that actually mean for the system, for the banks, the market?
Well, the immediate thing is this critical new infrastructure gap just appears, and it needs filling fast. Banks are essentially being pushed into this new digital currency world, and they need the tech to comply.
Okay.
And here's where it gets really interesting, quite revealing, actually. According to the source document we're looking at, only one specific Series B startup.
Just one?
Yeah. Its name isn't explicitly stated in the main text we saw, but apparently identifiable in an RBI annex. Only this one company has pilot clearance for these crucial fintech rails.
Wow. So a bottleneck right from the start.
Exactly. It's not just a fascinating detail. It's just a huge first-mover advantage. It could potentially create, a real bottleneck for the entire banking sector, right?
Yeah.
And cement this single company's position.
At least for a while.
At least in the short term, yeah.
Yeah.
As the kind of de facto provider for this critical piece. That's a huge strategic insight, potentially, from this leak.
That is a critical piece of the puzzle, knowing who's cleared.
Yeah.
But, okay, so you identify this company. The document doesn't stop there, does it? It seems to lay out a very specific, almost instructional, how to invest workflow.
It does. Surprisingly detailed.
Now, before we get into that, it's really crucial for you, listening, to understand something.
Yeah.
We are simply dissecting what this source document describes as an investment workflow, okay? This is absolutely not investment advice from us. We're not endorsing anything. We're just here to understand the information in the material itself.
Absolutely critical point. So, yeah, the document breaks it down, step-by-step guidance almost. First, it talks about step one, identifying the company.
Okay.
It actually tells the reader, download RBI Annex-III that lists the wholesale CBDC participants, and then use TRLF, the find function, to search for technology service provider.
That level of precision is, it's striking, isn't it? Very specific.
It really is, almost like a manual.
Okay, so that's step one. Then for step two, access route. It gets even more granular. It suggests, quote, contact existing Series B investors like Excel and Elevation for a secondary sale. It names names.
Name-specific VCs.
And it even gives a minimum ticket size, $250 minimum via SAFE at 20% discount to next round.
Yeah, that's an incredibly specific data point to find in a document that's supposedly connected to a regulatory leak.
Right. What does that SAFE note detail actually mean in this context?
Well, a safe, simple agreement for future equity, it's pretty standard in early-stage investing, gives investors the right to get equity later on. The 20% discount to the next round bit just makes the deal sweeter for these early or secondary investors. They basically get more shares for their money later.
Okay.
Seeing it spelled out like this, It suggests maybe how specific investment mechanisms could potentially link directly to big regulatory shifts like the CBDC pilot. Definitely makes you wonder, about the source's framing. Why put such a detailed investment plan inside this kind of document?
Good question. Okay, then it moves on to step 3, governance. Here, the document proposes a side letter for quarterly KPI disclosure plus pro rata rights. What's that about?
So this step is about protecting and managing the investment. A side letter is like an extra agreement. It ensures transparency, like getting updates on key performance indicators, KPIs.
Right, seeing how the company's doing.
Exactly. And pro rata rights. Those are crucial. They give investors the option to maintain their ownership percentage when the company raises more money later by investing more themselves.
So they don't get diluted too much.
Precisely. These are, pretty standard terms in VC deals, but
Yeah.
seeing them explicitly mentioned here, again, just highlights how seriously this potential investment is being presented in the document.
Right. And finally, step 4, exit strategy. The document outlines a really ambitious goal here, an RBI national license leading to an expected 5-7x revenue multiple within 18-24 months.
Yeah, that's projecting a pretty high return in a relatively short time. And it's tied directly to hitting a specific regulatory milestone, that national license. If you connect that back, it implies, from the source's view anyway, a strong belief that this one company, the one with the early pilot clearance for those critical rails, would command a really significant valuation once the CBDC pilot goes national.
A bold projection.
Very bold, yeah.
Okay. And let's just circle back one more time, reiterate that earlier point. It is absolutely crucial to remember the disclaimer. At the very end of the source document itself, it says, and I quote, "This is not a investment advice." SIC, S-I-C. The typo is in the original.
Exactly. Cannot stress that enough. Our deep dive today, it's simply about dissecting, understanding the very detailed information presented in this specific source. That's it. We're not endorsing it, not advising any action. Our job is just to convey what the document outlines, help you understand its potential implications.
Right. So let's recap quickly. We've dived into this imminent, very specific expansion of India's digital rupee wholesale pilot. We've seen the immediate, urgent demand it apparently creates for specialized fintech solutions, these rails.
Right.
And we've walked through this surprisingly detailed, almost step-by-step investment workflow that one intriguing source describes around this whole situation.
It really does underscore the value sometimes of digging into these very specific, timely documents, especially when they touch on such fundamental shifts.
Yeah.
Global finance, policy meeting, private enterprise.
Definitely. Which leads to a final thought for you to ponder. How might these granular regulatory shifts, like the one we've just discussed in India, how might they quietly be creating entirely new economic ecosystems and maybe highly specific, time-sensitive opportunities all around the world? What does this specific example tell you about that future intersection? Government policy, digital currency, private companies.
Lots to think about there.
Definitely something to mull over as you navigate this ever-evolving financial landscape.